So for the next panel, we have our moderator, also a board member of Gaia-X. Please welcome Hubert Tardieu.
Thank you, Lotta. Can we see the next slide? No. Can you help me on that one? Here we are. Okay, so I'm glad to introduce this third panel of the afternoon. Since the beginning of the afternoon, you have heard what is needed by the data spaces participant. You have just heard what is offered by the cloud service providers. And we will, for this last part of the afternoon, address what I would call the complementary topic, which we call the role of orchestrators. So what we are calling an orchestrator, and this is a result of a work which has been done between the Gaia-X Institute and University Paris-Dauphine, is that kind of role which is facilitating the ability for data space participants to share data by being offered data sharing tools which are built upon cloud service provider services and which are more specific to a use case which is by itself bringing the value to the data space. And in order for this to be illustrated this afternoon, we have retained 3 examples for that. One which will be presented by Sébastien Picardat. Sébastien is the CEO of Ag Data Hub, so he will explain he has installed a data space in the agriculture environment for 3 years from now. Then we will have Guillaume de la Valade. Guillaume is a general director of Hub1. Hub1 created its business in the first place by facilitating the use of 5G within airport, but they are now going higher in the value chain by offering some services that he will explain. And we will finish with Frédéric Schwil, who is a co-founder of Delta DAO. I don't know where is Frédéric. He's there, okay? And Delta DAO is offering the tool set for orchestrators to be able to deliver the data sharing services. So I immediately hand over to you, Sébastien, for your presentation.
Thank you, Hubert. So thank you, Hubert, for letting us the opportunity to present you the farming industry examples. And hello, everyone. Sorry for being remote. And where we are now in the farming industry. In France, we have to interconnect.
I cannot hear you anymore.
Hello?
Now it's okay.
Okay. So on the market, in the farming industry, the goal in France is to interconnect 400,000 farms with more than 80,000 partners. And what we saw during 5 years is that on a farm, there is more than 30 sources of data. So farmers are data holders connected with their food industry, their cooperatives, their growth suppliers, public services, and all that stuff. So speaking about the DGI point of view, farmers are the holders. And with all this data, farmers want to get some services in order to improve their revenue. And you can see all over the big circle some use cases we have on the market. For example, some crop insurance product in order to secure farmers' revenue, but also the question of pesticide reduction in order to be more friendly with the environment issue, but also to develop cost saving on the farmers. but also to develop new kind of technical advice with some general EI, for example. The service providers need to develop use cases linking data holders and data users. And in some framework, in some ecosystem like farmers with small and medium companies, we need the principle of an orchestrator. This is what we did for 4 years with AgData. What we had delivered during these 4 years. Here you can see the 4 main topics. Of course, some governance with a private company owned in majority by farmers with some public funders. We were also coordinators of call and support action consortium before the implementation of the agriculture data space. And on the technical point of view, we were, of course, a day one member of Gaia-X, and we implement with some technical providers like Gaia-X, Orange, and Ian Group, all the components in order to provide these services to farmers and their partners, speaking about digital identity, wallet, permission management, in order to develop transaction between data holders and data users. All these issues based on EU sovereign cloud service providers. Speaking about legal aspect, of course, 5 years ago there was no DGI on Data Act, so we have to implement them by default in our technology. So we are DGI and DA compliant. We, of course, contribute to all the regulation draft and standardization discussions. And once the DGA was published, we decided to go through the data intermediation service providers labeling, and we are on the ongoing process to be labeled by ARCEP, the French authorities for DGA. And of course, by default, Gaia-X compliant. And the fourth topic is the most important thing, is the question of business model. During 5 years, we develop and deploy all these technical modules and regulation and governance with some specific pilot. We develop a proof of concept in order to provide example about the creation of added value between data holders and data users. And we also try to find our business model as a data intermediation service providers. And here is the main, one of the 2 main problems we have to face. After the first step, speaking the step of build, during 5 years, we use in this case the DSSC methodology. And so we go through the build step, and we succeed in it. But one of the problems we have to face is during the scale-up phase. And as I said in the title, we are in the middle of the valley of death for data sharing infrastructures. And here in front of you, I'm really sorry to announce you that we cannot go on our activities, and we put some requests for opening a liquidation today because we didn't find our business model. And this is an important point that we want to share, of course, with the support of Hubert Tardieu, but also with all the ecosystem in order to share our experience and to have a feedback. Before, of course, some other will run some infrastructures. And we want to explain you why we had to face this situation and how we can share with you some feedback about it. And that's why we use also our experience with the analysis methodology developed by Gaia-X Institute with the support of Paris Dauphine University. And you saw all the steps we go through these 4 years. Of course, we developed digitalization of data exchange with some partners. You can see the logo on the slide. We developed also the question of automatization of data exchange with some 2 levels of standardization, the standardization of the data format, which is really specific for each industry, but also the standardization of technological protocols in order to develop data transaction. And we use specifically the working group Sensenelec, and we participate, of course, to the Gaia-X working group. And when we go to the two next steps, we go in we face two major challenges. First of all, if we want to get some data holders and data users on the platforms, they need to find some interest, and their interest must be based on economic. And we say that during the 18 last months, we developed collective economic demonstrators with some main customers in order to show them why it is important to share data through orchestrators. And we need to face two major risks in this economic demonstrators. First of all, we didn't have enough data managers or enough internal sponsorship inside the company to initiate this kind of use cases. So we need to show and to provide economic evidence to the interest for data holders or data users to be on an orchestrators. And second main challenge is there is no expertise about data business or data marketing to deploy use cases on industrial point of view. And here was the question of the market. And if we want to share some experience with you, is four main conclusion points. First of all, orchestrators must be sectorial, and they must link ecosystem, evangelization, and education around data use cases, including by default advice about business model on data and the efficiency for the actors. And the last point is to develop a scale-up phase, is to massify transaction between data holders and data users in the trustful and sovereign environment. And in this situation, data intermediary could be a really clear regulatory environment to do so. Second point is speaking about business model, which must be adapted to demonstrate added value on two levels. First level is to develop use case on data holders and data users to provide this proof of economic gain for data users and data holders. And you need to put that first instead of thinking about infrastructure service efficiency for orchestrators. And we did the contrary, and it was maybe a mistake about it. 3 points. Cash in. What is your business model? Who will be your customers? And who will pay for what? As a subscribers, or maybe taxes, if it must be some public services. The goal of that is to attain a critical mass of users and data holders and data users, and also the number of transactions on these infrastructures in order to have the massive number of subscribers or data transactions. And with always the support of one hand of public organization and or major economic companies. There is no one unique business model for orchestrators. There is only two main business models. One with the support of the public, one with some major industrial. And to finish, when we speak about scale-up phase, public organization, state or EU Commission should think about public funding in some way, in some specific way. First of all, to data users and holders to finance demonstrators in order to provide proof about the economic efficiency. But also, speaking about orchestrators, the goal for them is not to think every day or every month about money funding, but their priority is to operate their infrastructures for a limited period of time with the support of some public funding, for example, service of general economic interest, specifically for some orchestrators in some ecosystem based or constituted by SMEs. Here are our main recommendations for the features, and I will be ready to answer to your question, Hubert. Thanks.
Thank you, Sébastien. So we will come back to you after the free presentation in the discussion. Obviously, it is our intention to help you in this next phase, which is opening from now on, and we absolutely need to help you to find a solution. I would like now to hand over to you, Guillaume, on the Hub One proposal for the new project you are entering.
Thanks, Hubert, and hi, everyone. Give me a few seconds just to put also my presentation on the screen. Up, coming soon. Let me know as soon as it is okay.
Okay, maybe while you sort that out,
Yeah.
I would like maybe, Sébastien, to ask you a few questions. I would say, first of all, you have demonstrated very well that you need to show added value almost very early, and you need to show that you can derive some revenue, some cash out of that. So can you confirm that? And how early do you believe you can begin to try to get revenue out of the role of orchestrator?
This is a key question, Hubert. Thank you for that. I mean, 5 years ago, I don't know, all in the room, you can remember that there were nothing. It was terra incognita for everyone. So we need to build everything about it. And of course, now, if we see the data space initiative, you need to start first by developing demonstrators about added value creation for data users and data holders. Because they said, before you, we did that without orchestrators and without infrastructures. So why do we need infrastructures or orchestrator to do so? And so you need, first of all, to develop and to show on speaking about the increasing of turnover of a company, or to develop cost killing in your company, or to optimize human resources in order to develop an economy of data sharing between data holders and data users in order to.
Okay, Guillaume, sorry, we need now to hand over to Guillaume. But basically, what you say, you need to think being an orchestrator since day one. Otherwise, if you learn it while you work, you have a problem. Guillaume, are you okay now?
If you can see my slide, I think it's fine.
I can see your slide, yes.
Very good. So very shortly, who are we? Basically, Hub One is born in the airport about 23 years ago as a telecom and cybersecurity operators. We created in 2023 a company called Hub One Data Trust, a separate company. Just the page before, please. Hub One Data Trust is a subsidiary of Hub One and Caisse des Dépôts. Why did we create a separate company? It's first of all to comply with EU regulations. Basically, we use three main technical partners, which are Gaia-X, Dataiku, and Fujitsu. As you can see, we started operation in 2023. As I'm speaking, we have about 20 clients right now. Basically, companies operating in the airport ecosystem. Maybe, and it's a difference compared to the situation that Sébastien described. On an airport, we have definitely an advantage. which is all the companies are located on the same place. They are used to work together. I mean, the different companies, you have obviously airlines, but you have also all the suppliers of the airlines, the handlers. You have the company operating the airport, you have retails, fuel companies, and so on and so forth. But definitely sharing the same place, the same workplace, physical workplace, is a key advantage to create the cooperation. By the end of the year, we should reach a turnover in between 200, 300,000 of euro. And as you can see on the chart, we are targeting about 1 million euro in 2026. I'm mentioning this because, once again, referring to Sebastian's presentation, it will be critical for us to reach the break-even, and the break-even will be reached in 2026. So in other words, and that's also something which was mentioned in the University Dauphine paper, we definitely have to subsidize or finance the creation of the platforms before we can reach this break-even. To make it clear in terms of business model, we have basically three kinds of revenues. Subscription to the platform, which is at a low level. Services sold on top of the subscriptions. Imagine, for instance, that some of our customers, the handlers, basically people-intensive company, they have a very, very small IT department. They generate data every time, so for instance, a task is done. For instance, cleaning the airplanes, done. I generate data. But given the low IT department, the small IT departments that those companies have, we are selling them services in order to put the data in the proper form. The last kind of revenues we grab from this business is basically specific study and advising. And I will come later on this. Maybe on the next page, you will see three different issues or challenges we faced in the past and we are still facing. Obviously, as I told you, there is technological barriers. I mentioned already that handlers have limited IT resources. So there is a potential of data which can be generated, but you have to go after it. The second point is, even if all the companies are located on the same place and are used to work together, obviously they are competing against each other. Obvious for airlines, obvious also for handlers who are basically bidding for the same tender. So they are both competitors and also partners. Maybe the last kind of barriers we are facing is legal barriers. And maybe twofold. First one is, imagine that in the airport environment, you have a couple of dominant players. Those players, by the way, are regulated. It's obvious for the company operating the airport infrastructure. There is one single airport at a given place. So this company is regulated and thus is not capable to give every data they would be keen to give. There is obviously some data which are protected for security reasons also, which is another barrier. Then there is a last legal constraint, if I can say so, which is, let's take the example of the handlers. As I told you, they are competing for the same tender against each other, and it's a public tender regulated by EU regulations. There is no way one player could have a competitive advantage because of accessing at a given data versus the others. The game has to be fair, thus it obliges us to respect a few constraints. Maybe moving on to the use cases on next page. We have today 4 basic families of use cases. It's on next page,
You
please.
need to go to the next slide. Yes, thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. The first one is a very simple, basic, but so efficient use case. It's all the information related to flights. Each time you go through an airport, you are in a restaurant, you can see a screen displaying the next flights. You are, if you can just move back to
It's
the
fine
text.
because you have
Right.
only 2 minutes more. So
Okay. No, I accelerate. So making sure that every single actors of the airport get access to this information used for the operation is critical. Again, my handler, let's take the handler example back. When you have to clean the airplane, you have to make sure that it's at the right time. Second example is about all the retail shops you have among the airports. We worked a few months ago for an alcohol company which was looking for how to maximize my revenues. You have to keep in mind that, for instance, in the airports, you might have a few customers purchasing up to 50,000 euros just in alcohol. So you cannot afford to lose one single sales. We help them trying to determine where to put sales force in which terminal to make sure they are not missing one single sales. The third use case, a very family of use case, is about geolocations. It's very important for all the operations to allocate the proper resources at the proper place in the airport. Thus, about geolocation, you get tons of use cases. The last one is you understood that there is a lot of people working in the airports. So again, resource and sizing the proper resources is definitely key. Keep in mind that, back to my example of the handler, it's a people company. They are managing people to clean, to secure, to accommodate, and they have to make sure that they are allocating the right resource at the right place. They cannot afford to have 10 persons waiting for an airplane because it's late. This is something which is inefficient, and maximizing the efficiency is key for them. And just to finish, it says on next page, you have an example of when the airplane is at the parking area. You can see an example of all the different families of workers, of companies which are operating, obviously from the overall air control to the fueler, going through the catering, baggage delivery, and there is a priority between all those tasks. So once again, the coordination through the data exchange, through the data orchestration is key. That's it for me.
okay, thank you, Guillaume. Just while Frederic is preparing his slides, a key question following what Sébastien was telling us. When is it you expected to be break-even as an orchestrator?
As I told you, in 2026, we are still in
2026.
yes, we are still in the ramp-up phase. And to answer one question you might have about our maturity, we are still in the infancy, generating revenue, but still in the infancy.
Okay, thank you, Guillaume. So let me now hand over to Frederic. So Frederic will show us in the Pontus X ecosystem how they have created tools in order to facilitate the job of an orchestrator. Frederic, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone, and thank you very much for the warm welcome in Finland here. I'm Frederic. I'm a co-founder and member of the executive board of Delta DAO, and Delta DAO is an ecosystem builder, operator, and orchestrator. We are involved in several Gaia-X projects and Gaia-X lighthouses, and we have been part of the Gaia-X community for roughly 3 years now. Today, I'd like you to introduce to Pontus X, which is a Gaia-X service ecosystem And as we are on an orchestration panel, I'll focus on DeltaDAO's role as an orchestrator. I'd like to start with a slide that has been developed by the Gaia-X CTO, I think already a few years ago, that shows the evolution from data platform to data space to data ecosystem. And it's highly relevant because, of course, the role of the orchestrator has been evolving as well. And starting on the left, we see traditional data platforms with a single provider or a single operator. And this has a few drawbacks, of course, like lock-in effects, a single point of failure, a single point of control, and challenges related to data sovereignty, for example. Data platforms, then in the middle, evolved into data spaces that facilitate direct data exchange between participants. And this requires a data space operator. And this is a direct improvement in terms of governance and in terms of sovereignty. But most of the time, we are still reliant on a single operator. And now Pontus X is going a step further and distributes the ecosystem core functionality to a set of federators that provide ecosystem services collectively and collaborate under a governance framework. And we are moving from a single orchestrator to a set of orchestrators. And this is favorable in terms of resilience, in terms of sovereignty, in terms of distribution of power, and finally, also user and, of course, market acceptance. And all of this looks nice in theory, but how does it actually look like in practice? This is a high-level overview of the Pontus X ecosystem built by DeltaDAO. And there are operators that collectively form, run, and govern the ecosystem. And there are additional service providers like, for example, identity providers, payment providers, and so on. And Pontus X is a domain-agnostic, cross-industry B2B ecosystem. There can be spaces or subspaces that are tailored to specific industry needs, but still anyone in this ecosystem is relying on the same core services and on the same shared ground truth. And all ecosystem participants are able to do business together by design, also cross-domain. And DeltaDAO is the initiator and the orchestrator, but there can be many. So which orchestra you choose depends on your business needs. And now, how does the actual orchestration look like in practice? I've prepared an example that shows the data service consumption in Pontus X from the perspective of a data consumer. And the goal is to consume a service provided by an ecosystem participant, in this case by our partners from Neuster Aerospace. The first step is discovering a suitable service. Do I need to click again to start the video? No. Could you please start the video? We've checked it in the break before, it worked. Perfectly. So the first step is discovering a suitable service, and this can be done on a portal or marketplace. And in Pontus X, we aggregate a few of them on the landing page. Now we're checking out the portal of corporants, which is a Gaia-X lighthouse in the aerospace sector. And we can query the distributed ecosystem catalog and search, for example, for the Flight Analyzer app by Neuster Aerospace. And in the next step, we'll unlock our wallet to prepare our digital signature based on smart contracts. I'll skip everything technical for now. Let's take a look at the actual service description. Now the service credential is being verified with the Gaia-X clearinghouse, and this is done automatically each time you access the service in the Pontus X ecosystem, and usually takes a few seconds. You can verify the service publisher, and you can also check the service credential yourself if you want to dive deeper. After successful verification, we are ready to sign an automated contract with the service provider. And we are paying the service fee. In this case, it's 500 euro for the service itself and 1 euro for the orchestration service. And here we are using regulated e-money based in Europe, but other payment methods can be used as well, which depends really on your business needs. The transaction can be verified in real time using the ecosystem logging service. And we are now asked to connect our wallet and sign a message with our private key. And after the successful signature, access is granted automatically. And once the payment has been completed successfully, we are forwarded to the software application by the service provider. And what you see is already the flight analyzer app by Neustar Aerospace. And after accepting their terms and conditions, the consumer is able to access the service. The Flight Analyzer is an application built on Skywise that aggregates flight data sets and generates insights on that data. And it is a practical example of how a software as a service business application can be integrated into a Gaia-X ecosystem. Software applications like this can be directly monetized on a subscription basis. And you'll find the Neustar Aerospace colleagues, Arno is here in the first row, outside at the clearinghouse booth, and please visit them if you are interested in a demo. Our role in this as Delta DAO is to take care of the orchestration to enable automated ecosystem interactions. And this is fully automated based on smart contracts and ranges from, for example, software as a service subscriptions, as you have just seen, to data transfer, to software orchestration, and combining data and software to create new data products. And this can be done on a pay-per-use or on a subscription basis. We also feature an access mechanism called compute to data, where the computation is brought to the data locally, which is useful for generating insights on sensitive data or on licensed data. Imagine, for example, training an AI model on private data, orchestrated and monetized via Pontus X. And there's much more to discover with use cases from manufacturing, from mobility, aerospace, agriculture, the public sector, and more. Now I want to talk about maturity. We have been building the core software and validating our assumptions for about 3 years now. After successful validation with many of our customers, we are now working to reach a critical mass of participants, of use cases and services. And we are right now at the moment moving towards the first production implementations. And to enable all of this, the most important thing is to have aligned incentives and a scalable and transparent reward mechanism for all ecosystem participants, which means the time is over.
Yes, I am afraid so. So thank you, Frédéric. Can you please cut your thing in such a way we see the other participant? So, Guillaume, Sébastien, are you still there? Yes, they are. Okay, so what we were willing to show, and you have seen the situation of AgData, which has been launching a data space, I guess, without enough of tools, and probably, as you have said, as a pioneer, Sébastien. Then you have seen Guillaume starting to become an orchestrator and probably needing that kind of tools, because I know, Guillaume, that you are extremely interested to get your break-even by 2026. So if you do not generate the payment very quickly, it will be difficult. And finally, with you, Frédéric, we see with Delta DAO on Pontus X a way to make money out of the first services as quickly as possible. Now, the demonstration we were willing to tell you is really about that. But more important than anything, it is our belief, and we will come back onto that tomorrow during the Gaia-X Institute Paris-Dauphine presentation, that the role of orchestrator and the capability for orchestrator to survive by getting revenue out of the data sharing services they are offering is a key element for the catalyst of the data space to create the chemical reaction. I hope that has been a clear demonstration this afternoon, and with that, I would like to thank you for your attention.